What's going on, everybody? Appreciate everyone for tuning in to today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. We got a crazy show for you guys. We're going to be talking about a Joe Burrow trade to the Minnesota Vikings. You can already see the comments. Patrick, this is clickbait. What are you talking about? Why are we talking about this story? Well, Joe Burrow had a press conference recently, and it caught the eyes of a lot of people, and specifically a lot of front offices in the National Football League, that he could potentially want out of Cincinnati. And this is what he had to say during his press conference, saying, if I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing it. I have been through a lot. If it's not fun, then what am I doing it for? There's just a lot of things going on right now. Certainly not easy on the brain or the body. So just trying to have fun doing it again. Now you may be saying, Patrick, well, that's nothing. Burrow's clearly going through it. The Bengals, not winning a lot of games this year, not having a lot of success. Burrow's getting beat up. He is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in NFL history. Well, Adam Schefter then tweeted out responding to this, saying Joe Burrow's comments Wednesday got the attention of people across the league. And if you guys have listened to this press conference, he sounded just like Andrew Luck did before he retired from the Indianapolis Colts, where you could just tell, Burrow, he looked deflated. He looked like not even – it's just stuff going on from the football perspective, but I think almost in his personal life with where the Bengals are going. I'm sure Burrow's looking at it and saying, man, what am I going to do here? How am I supposed to have fun if we aren't winning games? I'm still getting beat up. Our offensive line still can't protect me. I'm sure he's thinking, I'm in the prime of my career right now. I don't know how many more years I have left considering all the injuries he has dealt with. I could fully well see him potentially requesting a trade. And that's what it starts with. This will not even be a conversation unless Joe Burrow heads to the Bengals front office and specifically request a trade. That's where it starts. There is going to be no situation where the Bengals even pick up the phone in terms of a Joe Burrow trade. Now, we'll say good news for the Vikings. If Joe Burrow does request a trade, I think the Vikings are number one on that list by far because, twofolds. One, Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals are not going to send him to the New York Jets, to the New Orleans Saints, or the Las Vegas Raiders, even if they send them every single pick for the next 3 years. Because, one, why would Burrow want to go to an organization like that, considering he wants to get out of a poor organization? So why would he go poor organization to poor organization? And that's where the Vikings will be at the forefront. Because, yes, even though the season has been a disaster for the Vikes, they have still been a very well-run organization over the last, history of their franchise. They have the fourth highest winning percentage of all time in the National Football League. And Burrow, he could probably view himself and be like, man, I could be that guy that gets him over the top. But why is Burrow so frustrated? Because they just can't protect him. And yes, you could also say hey, well, this is on Joe because Joe wanted to get, Jamar Chase paid. He wanted to get T. Higgins paid. So obviously you're not going to have the protection you want up front, but still, it's got to be better than what it's been. In 2020, 29th, 2021, 30th, 2022, 30th, 2023, 27th, 2024, 32nd. So in total, they're the worst pass protection win rate offensive line in the entire league since Burrow has gotten there. And honestly, I feel bad for Burrow. This guy's an all-time talent. This guy is one of the best quarterbacks that has seen the NFL field this century. And yes, injuries have played a huge factor here, but also the Bengals have not protected him one bit. So we'll talk about why this could make sense for the Vikings here, but I'll ask you guys this. What would you do for Joe Burrow to be a Viking? What would you do for a Klondike bar? I would do a whole lot. I would do unspeakable acts to have Joe Burrow repping the purple and gold next season because this Vikings team would be a true Super Bowl contender. So you guys let me know. What would you do for Joe Burrow to be a Viking? Now, if this is possible, if Joe Burrow does go out there and he requests a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals, the Vikings need to go all in. This isn't even a hot take. This shouldn't be a polarizing take. This is Joe Burrow we're talking about here. You go all in. You do whatever the hell it takes to get him in this organization. F the draft picks. F the players you got to give up. You go out there and you go try to get the real number 9 because the real number 9, Joe Burrow, is an absolute stud. This guy can pass the ball over the lot. His 2024 season was absolutely fantastic. Almost 5,000 yards, 70% completion percentage, 43 touchdowns, 9 picks. He has been truly one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's on that Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks so far over the last 5 years with Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar Jackson. Burrow is right in that mix. Now, the downside to Burrow is his injury history. Back in 2020, he had that torn ACL, PCL, MCL, and meniscus. And then in December 2021, he dislocated that finger. February 2022, he had an MCL sprain. 2023, he had a calf strain. 2023, he tore that ligament in his wrist. And 2025, he had turf toe, and he missed around 3 months. But also, why would Burrow have interest come to the Minnesota Vikings? Obviously, he's playing with his boy Jamar Chase. Well, luckily, the Vikings have another one of his best friends, Justin Jefferson. These guys were boys, obviously dating back to the times at LSU, but also they go to the Met Gala every year. They love dressing up. They clearly have still a really good relationship. And if you guys remember, Joe Burrow was doing a podcast, and he was kind of asked, like, hey, who's better between Chase and Jefferson? And Chase was sitting right next to him during this podcast, and Burrow was like, I'm going to plead the fifth. I'm not going to say anything. And he was like, come on, if you had to pick one, and Burrow just kind of went silent there, obviously showing some respect to number 18 when he had his boy Jamar Chase right next to him. I would have expected Burrow just be like, I'm going to go with Jamar. He's my teammate right now. But he kind of, kept it up in there. And also Burrow, back at a frat college party, he was seen wearing a Vikings jersey. Obviously Randy Moss, a very popular jersey, I'm sure, at Darty's at local colleges. So, it's not the craziest thing in the world that Burrow's wearing a Vikings jersey, but maybe he's got some fandom for Minnesota. So I still think if Burrow were to request a trade, Vikings, number one on the list by far. I can't even think of another team. Maybe the Rams, because Burrow would have interest going and playing with Sean McVay and all the weapons they got over there. Maybe the Rams would try to get aggressive in getting them. But still, I don't know if they – I still think Burrow would pick the Vikings over any other team in the league, because could you imagine if this was the Joe Burrow Vikings? I would absolutely love if I could show this graphic to you guys every single week. We got Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, assuming they let Jalen Naylor walk. You got Ty Felton stepping up as a wide receiver 3. You still got Jordan Mason as the running back. And, probably TJ Hawkins not on the team. So you maybe have to go draft another tight end. But you still got Josh Oliver there. And, you could say this about damn near any offense with Joe Burrow. No matter who the head coach is, Joe Burrow would be a great fit for whatever offense it may be. But literally Joe Burrow would be a perfect quarterback for Kevin O'Connell's offensive scheme. Where KOC, he wants to throw the ball 40, 45 times a game. Well, how about you go get a quarterback that excels at throwing the ball 45 times a game? Obviously, a guy like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they would still fit in O'Connell's system. But if I had to pick, one specific quarterback for KOC's system, it honestly might be Joe Burrow, barring injuries. And, I'll say it again. If Burrow had to pick another team in the NFL to play for, I can fully confidently say it would be the Minnesota Vikings. And it's almost one of those things where it's it almost makes too much sense here, where it's you got, number one, his best friend, Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the league, offensive-minded head coach. You got a team, also a franchise, that never won the Super Bowl. So I could see Burrow being I'm going to go be that guy and convince himself I'm going to be the person that gets the Vikings over the top. So, crazy situation. Again, we're not even close to the offseason right now. We're talking about this, but it just takes one notification on our phones where it's breaking news. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals are parting ways. They're looking for a suitor for a potential trade. So if we ever get an information or a report like that, we'll have a video for you guys ASAP. I hope it ends up happening. Obviously, still very unlikely. Still a lot of football left to be played. But if we ever get any more updates on a Joe Burrow trade, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button today. We are 85 subs away from 68.2K here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button. Help us reach our next milestone on YouTube, and I would appreciate it a whole lot. All right, but I think a big question with the Joe Burrow trade is what the hell is a trade package for Joe Burrow? This is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. In the prime of his playing career, what would the Vikings have to give up? We'll talk about that here in just a second. But before we do so, I got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, a shaving company called Harry's. And for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. Now, I have used other razors in the past, and I was never the biggest fan of them because they would irritate my neck. The razors, they would become dull way too fast. But that's not the case at Harry's. And Harry's Plus, it isn't just a razor. It's the centerpiece of a full grooming lineup from shave gel to body wash, all designed with the same attention of detail. And I was completely blown away using Harry's for the first time. It was the best shave I've ever gotten, and I would never go back to another razor. And everything is delivered straight to your door from Harry's own factory to your bathroom. So there's no middlemen, no markups, just premium gear on your schedule. And for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer. And after you purchase, ask if you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Vikings Now by Chat Sports. All right, so what would a Joe Burrow trade package look like? Obviously, there's a huge question mark in a mega blockbuster, whatever buzzword you want to use, Joe Burrow trade. It would take a lot, and it's kind of tough to even determine how much you would go for. But we can start off looking at some other trades that went down with some quarterbacks that were top of the league. So I think the most famous one was the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade with the Lions. They got Jared Goff, a 3rd-round pick, and 2 first-round picks, and they gave up Matthew Stafford. And obviously, Stafford was older. And obviously, the Rams also were able to give up a number 1 overall pick in Jared Goff, which has a lot more value than a guy like J.J. McCarthy, for example. But how about a trade package with no players? This was Deshaun Watson. Very similar situation as Joe Burrow's in right now, where Watson, he was kind of entering the prime of his career, and also the Browns had to sign him to a 5-year, $230 million contract, fully guaranteed. Now, I'm not saying, for example, obviously the Watson trade didn't work out. I would find it hard to believe that a Burrow trade wouldn't work out for the Vikings. But you had to give up 3 first-round picks, a 3rd, and a 4th. So what could a Vikings trade look like? This is probably just the start of a trade, and this is also you only giving up 2 first-round picks. I think it would have to be a 3 first-round pick package, but maybe you view the combination of Greenard and McCarthy as a first-round pick, where obviously the Bengals need help defensively, but you give up Greenard, J.J. McCarthy, a 2026 first and 3rd, and a 2027 first and 2nd-round pick. And it is tough just coming up with a Joe Burrow trade package because there is no equal trade value for Joe Burrow. Even if the Vikings offered every pick for the next 3 seasons, does that even equate to Joe Burrow? I would honestly argue it doesn't because of how valuable a top 5 quarterback in his prime is in the NFL world. And I'll say this, I love J.J. McCarthy. You guys know that. J.J., he's a guy I'll go to war for. He's a guy I'll continue to say, just give him time, give him time. I think eventually, he will break through and be a very good quarterback in the NFL. But the Vikings, you do whatever it takes to land Joe Burrow. This is Joe Burrow. We would dream of J.J. even becoming 75% of what Joe Burrow is. So as much as I love J.J., as much as I loved how he looked against the Commanders, I guess that was a vanilla game plan. It was against one of the worst defenses in the league at home. You just do whatever it takes to get Joe Burrow. Whatever draft capital it takes, even if it takes 4 first-round picks, I would be on board with it because at the end of the day, it's Joe Burrow and also F them picks. But you guys let me know. Should the Vikings go all in for Joe Burrow? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. We'll get on out of here. As always, let's go Vikes.